Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I was just waiting for it to show up. Welcome back.
Indeed.
It's been a while.
Yes, your
Been quite a
favorite
while.
group of nerds back in the house, right?
Favorite group of nerds. I like that.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, I'm Domo. I've been around for a while.
I think everybody knows who
I'm a
Domo is.
Nintendo nerd.
Full on nerd.
We're joined again with Greg,
Oh my
owner
gosh.
of MVG, also a Nintendo nerd.
Straight up nerd.
With most valuable nerds.
Me Too King,
Hello.
The ultimate nerd.
the ultimate Nintendo nerd. F-Zero Statless, Super Metroid,
All the way.
Smash Bros, Mario,
All the way.
you name it.
Really? You're going to balance that on your head like this. Classic
All right,
Jason.
what jutsu is that, Jason?
It's the Domojutsu.
That was like an alley-oop.
That's an easy one.
Okay, so in light of pretty much the past couple of weeks, we've had a number of firestorms under Nintendo.
To say the least.
First, starting with a cease and desist of a broadcast for Melee at Big House. Then, very recently with Splatoon. In fact, Mewtwo King just streamed the game a couple of times, just realizing that game is like his new child.
What?
Yeah, but Splatoon at a Nintendo Championship the broadcast was cease and desisted, and then now we just learned of a situation where a fan was made Etika Joy-Cons, and the proceeds going to charity, and then that was then quote unquote court-martialed by Nintendo. And so now we're like, me as a huge Nintendo fan, basically the whole company is built around Nintendo products, right? Super Smash Brothers is like our whole way of life. And we're sitting here and we're like, what the heck is going on?
No clue.
Like, what is Nintendo doing? So first, I wanted to start by asking you, Jason, like, what do you think about all this? Like, how do you feel as someone who's basically a Smash Pro and, the co-owner of this company? What's going through your head?
So, Nintendo's within their legal rights to do all these things, but just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. So that's pretty much the basic idea. They can legally do all the things they have. It's within their intellectual property rights and whatnot, right? As far as I know. But just because you can do some, as I said, doesn't mean you should. You can shut down the Etika Joy-Cons that they're doing for charity. Is it a good idea to? Maybe not, but they might think differently. And the Splatoon thing, it's like, okay, well, 30% of the names of the top names, they were using some type of free Melee or Smash themed names, like where they changed their name. Like one of them was like they changed their name to Wave Dash instead of something else. Or like there was a few variations that I've seen. And then, they shut down that broadcast. And then, everyone knows about the Big House thing at this point. So it's pretty much the same theme and concept over and over, where I think there might be a disconnect where they can do these things, but I don't necessarily think it's a very good decision to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, what do you think, Greg? I'm super curious about your opinion here.
Well, I look at it from a different standpoint because, from a more business standpoint, Jason hit it spot on. From a corporate, strategy, can you do it to protect your IP, your intellectual property? Of course you can. I mean, they spent God knows how much money to develop these brands, the different IPs itself, right? But there are times where, as a company, where you can crush the little guy because you can. They have the money, they have the attorneys, they were well within their rights to do it. But is it the best thing to do? Probably not. And this leads me to one real elephant in the room. When you get organizations that might not be probably as diverse as most people, their fan base might be, right? It leads me to think, would this have happened in the manner in which it's been playing out publicly if Reggie was still there, right? Or if some of the other people that are no longer with the company that have moved on to the afterlife or the nether realm.
Mr. Iwata, rest in
Indeed,
peace.
right? if this would have been still happening. We understand, they are very powerful, but they've always cared greatly about their public image. That's why this is so shocking, As an organization, I can tell you guys from my personal experience, Nintendo has it right from the standpoint where the way they grow their built-in fan base, they get us when we're kids, like babies. Xbox, they can learn a thing or two about from Nintendo how they actually get their clientele. I mean, I got hooked on Nintendo when I was 11,
For me,
12,
it's 4.
13. For you, it was 4.
Yeah.
So their whole approach has always been the cute, wholesome, deal with the world with a velvet glove, not with a iron fist. But the way they've been dealing with these recent issues, it's been more like an iron fist. And I'm not sure if it's the wisest thing to do. So what about you? What do you think?
Well, I'm a 90s kid. I have been playing Nintendo games. I think like 80 to 90% of the games I played were on Nintendo consoles.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Nintendo IPs. It's really annoying for me now because, I don't want to, as a fan, I don't want to, just support these decisions that Nintendo's been doing because it seems like they're just trying to strong arm with their brand. And I've worked a couple of Nintendo partnered events myself, so I have a little bit of an understanding of how conservative Nintendo is about their brand, especially when they put their logo on something or they're involved with something that has their game involved in it. Mm-hmm. They were very stiff about how their logo was used, how much footage was shown. Like I was a little shocked,
mm-hmm.
But over the years, Nintendo's been kind of, I guess they haven't been too hard about shutting down too many fan projects. There's been a few.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a few that even Jason and I were like kind of interested in getting involved with, and then boom,
shut
down.
Like the Metroid game.
And we were like the Metroid ROM hacks.
Like another Metroid 2 remake or something.
AM2R.
I was gonna look at it and I'm like, oh wait, I can't.
Very popular on Twitch for a little bit, and then boom, gone. And then we obviously host the Frame Perfect series, which has like what Smash Remix was at the last one, right? And that's technically a fan mod. So it's weird. For a company, this big that kind of got us super young to appreciate all the brands that they push in gaming. And then as we get older, we're so passionate about these games that we start our own fan projects just to keep them around because, a lot of the games that we like are not getting sequels yet, or they haven't gotten a sequel in a long time. So the community kind of steps in and keeps those games around by adjusting things, keeping it fresh.
Absolutely.
And there are other companies that when they see things like that, they jump in and congratulate that fan base. Part of the reason why some games are bigger esports nowadays is because the developers have been more involved.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure what Nintendo is trying to push here by kind of strong-arming competitive scenes.
Well,
and it's probably related to, like you said, like intellectual property. Thank you for the subscription, by the way. But at this point, like they're killing their PR. They're getting ratioed by
moms, parents. And
I saw the mom tweet. I saw the
they
mom
can't tweet
yeah.
at all, or they get ratioed.
The thing is, when I'm a parent, right? I have a son. I have young kids, right? And I remember sitting here the night this started to develop. And the first thing I said to Domo and Jason, I said, as a parent, Christmas is coming up, right? Are you gonna feel warm and fuzzy about a company that's doing the things that Nintendo? This is from a tradition standpoint, right? This is like Nintendo's almost, I guess that's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We've never seen this part of this company, not to this extent.
Yeah.
We know what they did with Evo back in the day, right?
Yeah.
But they've had some missteps in the past, right? Mm-hmm. But it's been a long time. For them to come out this hard, this close to the holiday, It just doesn't make any sense. Now, don't get me wrong. And for what we do, I get very passionate, especially when people take, even our content. I remember not understanding how YouTube really worked, how at times we would work extremely hard, hosting events, and then people would just grab our footage without asking permission, and then you see it in somebody's top 10 video without even being credited. I used to take that to heart because, as a owner, as the people who would host these events and spends thousands upon thousands of dollars to make these events happen, and to not even be contacted to say, hey, we love what you did at Frame Perfect, or we love what you did at this particular event. May we please have permission to do X? And then you just see it when it's already out there. And then when you try to defend your own, these are just like stuff that we broadcast. We didn't program the Nintendo games.
Right.
We didn't spend millions developing these brands, right? And I still felt some type of way about it. I can understand where they're coming from when, for example, the Joy-Con. That's a very touchy subject, right? We don't know if this person asked for permission. If they did, probably not. They probably figured it was too small, right? That they could just do it because it was for a good cause. It would just get overlooked,
the fact
right?
that it's charity.
It's charity.
Yeah.
But by the same token, the way that they went about it, maybe you let it be a one-off, right? Or maybe you come out and promote it as a company. Can you imagine
what that would
have done for the community? Because let's face it, because of this virus, mental health has been taking a toll. We understand suicide rates have gone up. Domestic violence incidents have gone up drastically. And if they had came out and say, hey, we probably didn't think of this, but this is a good idea. So let's just signal boost this, make it a one-off, a limited time edition for this time period to uplift the spirit for the holiday, even though it's a dark subject, but it's one that we're all dealing with. It would have been a great PR move, but they went the other way, and they went the other way to the point where you're trending on Twitter for all the wrong reasons, and you don't want to be in that position less than today's the 9th?
Something like that.
The 8th.
The 8th, less than
December.
20 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
They're going to feel that one.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Nintendo rakes in the dough in December.
Course, this is
it.
They
always launch some big home console title.
Always.
And they sell a bunch of consoles.
Always.
I also find it weird because a lot of the things being C&D'd are American projects.
Yeah.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, America, or at least the America region, like North America,
is the biggest marketplace.
Yeah,
for them.
that's where they make most of their money. Is probably, and that's because
Factor of two almost.
Correct, and that's because of the population difference between here and Japan. So making Americans upset, with their PR doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, we're over half their sales, as far as I know.
Yeah,
just from USA.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they would, and they didn't just double down, like they tripled down with all these 3 incidents happened within a couple weeks of each other.
Yeah, I want to mention, I do think one of their strategies in their mind seems to be doubling down, tripling down.
Yeah, that's just pride, though. Sometimes
they probably feel like, oh well, we're already committed, we have to just keep doing it, or maybe there's other reasons that we can't even. Maybe there's reasons we just don't know of.
Well, the only thing I could think of to give Nintendo a way out here, potentially, maybe they hired an intern to run their PR department. Maybe it's somebody who's not as experienced that they just brought in, the holiday season, right? But this can't be the way to go. Even if they believe this stuff, you handle it quietly, make sure it doesn't really make the news in a negative way as an organization, and try to smooth things over. But it's different. And it's surprising because it's kind of like finding out like Santa not only does not exist, but turned out to just be like an elaborate hoax all along. Because to me, as an adult, now as a parent, I always held this company in its own category. Even though I've had all the PS systems, right? And I've had all the Microsoft systems, right? Mm-hmm. But Nintendo has always been in its own category because I've never even seen Nintendo competing with those other brands, even though that they do. But in my heart, in my mind, I've always held them to a whole different standard, right? I mean, I can imagine, for Sterling, which is my son. Like the first game, the first controller he ever picked up was what you were at the house, dude. Like where he basically took away my pro controller, and he would not let it go.
Yep.
And even now, whenever he sees the light on, he takes it and run. So, that was the first controller he picked up. At 1.5, and then, but to think like they're going in this hard direction, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, and even now, like to the point where people are like they're considering boycotting as a strategy, because right now Nintendo hasn't released any official statements about how they're going about this.
They've gone dark. Yeah.
Yeah, and if there is a statement regarding, for example, when they first cease and desist something, they have to provide some sort of statement, or someone has to speak on their behalf of some statement. It's usually something very vague.
Bring back Reggie. That should be the hashtag.
That should be the hashtag. You think Reggie would let this happen?
Dude, no, absolutely. Reggie, dude, let me just say this again. This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
You guys know if Reggie was still here, and he wasn't the most beloved person in the community, let's face it, right? But in terms of not taking himself too seriously, he probably would have been on the broadcast with the Splatoon guys getting the crap beat out of him to make a meme out of the situation, to diffuse it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do, but whatever it is, they need to just come out and just, bring out the carrot and put away the heavy stick and try to smooth this thing over, because we love the company and we really rather see them thrive instead of going down this dark overlord path, which it just doesn't suit them very well. That's just my opinion. I don't, I'm just letting you guys know how I feel.
Yeah. How do you feel, Jason?
Yeah, pretty much the same way. In fact, when I was younger, I'm even writing this in my book, which is, I don't know when it's coming out yet, but I've been writing this that, like, when I grew up, I remember being in, like, second grade, and it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And people were like, firefighter, policeman. I was like, well, I want to be the best at Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo 64. This is right after the Nintendo 64 came out. And I was like, I want to either make games or play games. And obviously now I'm playing games. That's like I've always grew up on Nintendo, so I've been biased toward them the whole time. And learning all this in the recent years, like the past decade, it's like surprising, and it doesn't really make you feel as good about them. Even if I was like uninvolved, I'd be like, well, even from an outside perspective, it's like, well, why are you making these decisions? Like, I don't know. They just because. Yeah, I don't think they should be doing this.
And one last thing, maybe, I don't know if you guys want to chime in on this, but it lends credence to the fact that for the longest time, right, particularly the competitive scene within the FGC, particularly when it came to Smash, particularly Melee, the grassroots community have always felt that Nintendo never really cared about competitive Smash as a whole.
Yeah.
Because they've never really truly supported much of anything financially. Maybe they have. We've just never seen. I've never received a check from Nintendo, and most people I know have never really received any massive payments from Nintendo. Maybe, again, I'm not speaking for everyone, but in terms of them really putting in real money, like some of these other developers have done, you look at a game like Brawlhalla, for example, right?
That's a good one.
Like, those guys started out, it was once a mobile game, it still is, but then they put real money into building that circuit. So if you're a young kid out here, in fact, one of the best Brawlhalla players used to be a Smash player, right? Sandstorm.
Yeah. Sandstorm's really
and
good.
he was a Smash player, and then he decided to go to Brawlhalla. And guess what? As a profession, one can say he made the right choice financially, because he's raking in the dough.
Smart man.
Give him credit. He pivoted, and he's winning big. But then Nintendo, from what I understand, they've never really done that much to support what's happening within the competitive scene. Now, when you start to do stuff like this, what they did against Big House, I personally felt, even though Big House, they have their share of blame, they should have still have it as a one-off, hard slap on the wrist, and let it happen.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't even be here right now.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, right? But then when you do stuff like this, it makes you feel like, well, wait, we've always thought that, we always had it in the back of our mind that they didn't really support the competitive scene, but now they're taking action to make you actually feel like they're not really supportive of what it is that we've been doing. And let's not forget, there were some lean years for Nintendo where the scene that kept, their sales going were competitive Smash.
Yeah.
the scene that kept their games relevant once they stopped showing TV commercials were competitive Smash. So, the return there, we've always been giving. Granted, they've created the games. They created the platform. But as a pro player, Jason could speak to this, and you, Don, being a real fan, you could speak to this. We've given a lot to Nintendo as well, with what we've created, with what the community has created. And when they do stuff like this, it starts to make you wonder, are we within the right genre? Should we just look to expand the overall offering?
Yeah.
And you don't want that. You don't want people to think about that. You want them to love you more, enhance your online experience, enhance everything else you're doing.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
I know.
I mean, they have made a few patches to make it better. But
They have.
Even after several patches, just it's still very mediocre.
It's the worst in FGC. Like right now, you can make a really strong case that the online for
I think
Smash is
it's
the worst. Yeah.
that, and apparently Street Fighter 5 and Ultimate are the worst two,
But
or
if you-
something like that.
Street
But
Fighter
even
5 's
still,
better. Yeah.
they've had faux pas in the past. They've always been able to get to garner the benefit of the doubt from everyone because it's Nintendo, right? You tend to grade Nintendo on the positive curve, like they're trying to get it right?
Yeah.
But then, I'll tell you guys this: when I got charged that annual fee for online, I was like, "Oh wow, I'll happily pay for this," right?
Okay.
Because I thought it was going to improve, and then they took my money, and then the whole year went by, and it didn't really get better. And
Well-
then I just got charged for it again.
I heard it got a 1 frame or half a frame
Dude,
better, or something like that.
Moderately better.
Very
Yeah.
Moderate.
not
better.
as much as you'd expect at all.
Yeah, but then they charged everybody for it for a whole year before they did any real work,
Yeah,
any
that's
noticeable work to it.
That's true. I actually think that Smash 4's online was better than Ultimate.
One can argue.
Yeah, I think it was less laggy.
Yeah. And that's saying a
We
lot.
weren't paying back then, by the way.
No, that was a free experience.
It's so laggy that
Oh, God.
when you switch between one of the older Smash games, which have no delay,
Sure.
like Melee 64, Brawl, or just any of the old games, it's no delay, and you switch to Ultimate Online, it's
It's
it's the exact opposite of everything you've learned. And it's really hard to switch between them because it's oh man, this is so much different. But you don't notice it when you're used to it, and then you switch off and it's oh my god, this is what I've been missing, or this is so different. Then you can really put into perspective oh god, there's a lot of room for improvement, And they have the money. They could.
Oh my god.
They have the money to do it. They aren't taking the steps toward it.
Well, how is it over in Japan? Is it way better over there?
I'll tell you, I was.
Maybe they think it's good because it's good over there.
Well, I can comment on that. I was in Japan for over a week for Brawl in 2012 summer, and I played Brawl Online for the second time. I played it once in my house in 2008. It was I swear to God, more than 20 frames input delay, and I was I'm not doing this. So I just practiced against computers, and then I was okay. Then I played in Japan, and it was less than half that. So it's it was consistently less than 10 frames input delay, no matter what the connection. No, I'm not saying that's good or anything, but it was compared to what it was in USA. It was very substantially different, and probably 3 times different.
Now that goes with infrastructure. We know you guys have been to Japan. You understand that the internet networks is
network is
definitely
way
way better
better.
over there. So, I guess if it's okay in Japan, they don't really care. I don't want to go there, but I don't want to turn this into a bash Nintendo session because
Sure.
we love the company and I love what they do. Look, you could be in love with somebody and still call them wrong when they mess up.
Of course.
And this is one of those moments where they screwed up. So
Yeah, I feel conflicted.
this is a hard check. Listen, we love you, but you don't want us to start looking elsewhere because there are other options on the street, and you don't want the eyes to start to wonder.
Yeah.
Get your stuff together. Maybe call a real meeting. Maybe sign Reggie as a consultant behind the scene. And let them guide you guys to this dark path you seem to be going through. But this needs to stop and come back and make us all feel warm and fuzzy about the company again. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I'm gonna give my 2 cents and say that because this is obviously an excerpt about why everyone's upset with Nintendo, right?
Let's go.
And the 3 of us, I can speak for us in saying that we're all huge fans of Nintendo.
Massive.
Right?
It's my life.
So for us to be upset at this, it takes a lot, right? At first it started with Melee. We thought it was a Melee thing. Maybe Nintendo just doesn't really want people playing their old game.
True.
Then Splatoon happened,
Yeah.
And we were like, oh my God.
Coincidence or not?
Like, okay, yes, it was related to like the hashtag free melee thing, but that didn't make any sense because they just changed their team names. There was no nothing derogatory in their team names. There was nothing that made canceling the broadcast make any sort of sense.
Dude, that's freedom of speech.
Yeah. So it's a little weird. And then this thing with the Joy-Cons. And now, like me as a huge Nintendo fan, right? I play Nintendo games even now. Like even though some of the old games are masterpieces, like even now they're just still making really good games. Like Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity is amazing. Like Fire Emblem's amazing. Like the things that they're doing with Mario lately, I think is really cool. And yet lately, as a fan, if I keep supporting and buying these games, then I'm basically saying, oh, I'm cool with what's been happening. But the thing is, there is no real alternative, right? Nintendo games happen and occur on Nintendo consoles. There's no Nintendo and Steam. There's no Nintendo cross-platform.
They control everything.
Right? So by not purchasing the games, I'm punishing myself. Right?
It's tough.
So that's what makes me super upset, because if Nintendo chooses not to come forward, and I love Nintendo, even now, I'm just every day I wake up and like I jump in Meet the King's Discord and I see people going in, and I'm just like waiting for Nintendo to just make it go away, because I just want it to go away.
You just want the hurting to stop.
I
That's
just want it to go away, and it doesn't look like that's going to change, at least not right now. But like you said before, this is the holidays, and what the Game Awards is happening in like a couple days, right? And they're probably going to announce games there. They just announced the Nintendo Versus Challenge, right, which has another Smash Brothers tournament they're doing. So they're gonna get flack again, which may or may not result in another cease and desist if they continue their pattern.
Let's hope they learn from this.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
And that's another thing too. Everybody's already been on edge with this. Like, is this their way of entering the marketplace where they just want to quell everyone else and just completely revert control back to what it is that they're doing, and they want to just have full control? A lot of people are on the edge about this, but there's a way to do things, and just don't feel right.
Yeah, what's going on?
I don't know.
Dude, what do we do?
We pray to the melee gods.
We pray to them. All right, Jason.
Save us.
Save us, Jason.
So stupid.
Save us.
So stupid.
Hey, well, you're hosting Frame Perfect. That's a start.
Oh, man.
Sign up for that, guys.
Oh, my God.
Hosting Frame Perfect.
Do it every month.
And that tournament runs on Slippy. I don't know why, like, Slippy is an issue. I mean, Slippy's still around, right? Yeah. So Nintendo hasn't targeted Slippy.
Dude, credit to Slippy, because the game itself was on the downward trajectory, and the Slippy making it more available for people, like even like right now, right? If you're a Melee player or someone who aspired to become a Melee pro, or just get good at playing Melee, especially during this pandemic, dude, there's no way. Can you imagine having people come over to your house right now just to play Melee, right? But Slippy made that possible.
Yeah.
It was a value add to the community, and it also introduced a whole host of young kids who probably didn't really pay much attention to Melee, or probably didn't even find it that interesting, because you needed this giant CRT to play it, and then you also needed to have a whole bunch of people coming over to your house to play it. And now you could just turn on your computer and then turn on your setup. Your friend could be in Canada, it could be anywhere around the country, even in Europe in many cases, and have a partner. I think that's a positive. It's not like Slippy's making money off of this stuff. It's enhancing the overall community experience. So when you look at it from that standpoint, you are gaining new fans. The more people get turned on to a Nintendo game or platform, however old, that is a victory in your column, because that person may not be buying a brand new copy of Melee, but guess what? All the Nintendo merch, all of the plushies, all of the other ancillary stuff Nintendo have, like you gaining a fan. And most of these guys, especially the older generation, like myself, we starting to have kids. And guess what?
Yeah.
Our kids are going to get hooked onto these games because we play them, or we are involved within the community. You don't want to turn people off, especially those that's been with you since me, the age of 11, you, what, 4?
4.
And
I was like 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
I've never had anything bad to say about Nintendo up until this spell right here.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. So what do? We keep entering tournaments. We keep doing our thing, and we pray. We pray that Nintendo comes around, dude.
yeah.
And like I said, Frame Perfect is not under any contention from Nintendo, so we're going to continue
Let's
hosting
hope that
tournaments.
stays the same.
We're not leaving Melee alone.
Yeah.
MTK has fallen in love with Splatoon, so he's streaming Splatoon. So shout outs to the Splatoon community. They're amazing. The game is freaking. I'm so upset because we raided a couple of Splatoon streamers.
Yeah.
And I just discovered some of the extra modes that they had in the game that look like a ton of fun.
Mm-hmm.
The game is actually really good, and Nintendo. That's a game that you would say Nintendo has kind of supported, right?
They do. Yeah.
Nothing crazy that we love to expect. We want to expect from a billionaire gaming software company, but they have some support. The game, they built that game with the concept of, hey, we're going to build a culture around it.
Yeah.
Right. And then to kind of C&D. Oh God!
It's only gonna. So now you ask yourself, right?
Yeah.
Are they gonna just start locking out the feature for players to enter their tags? Because now what?
You could do that in like every game.
I know, but if you think about it, if you're a sponsored player,
right?
Are you just gonna start seeing, players with no tags? Is that it? Going forward, come on. You can't do that, especially here in the U.S. It shouldn't happen anywhere around the globe. You should be able to express whatever you want as long as it's respectful. You don't want any profanity, in people's tag. You don't want to take it too far. But as long as they're expressing support for their brethren within the community, there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
That's just my take on it.
And then, like, the Joy-Con situation.
Oh, my gosh.
God, I was so sad. And why does it have to be etiquette? That's so sad. And then, we have merch, right, for Frame Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That has Marth on a T-shirt.
Fan-made.
Is that something that's going to be contentious?
Maybe.
We
don't know.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Even if it's for charity?
Yeah.
So, Nintendo, please. Please do something.
Do you think they watch these on YouTube? They have to have somebody that's actually taking the pulse of the community.
Somebody's blacklisting us right now.
Oh gosh, probably.
I hope not.
Probably.
Well, yeah, that's my take. I don't want to keep you guys too long, but do you guys have any closing thoughts?
No, it's been a while since we did one of these. It's been fun.
Yeah.
And we look forward to doing more of these in the future. Under better circumstances, I hope. Maybe we'll come back with amazing news from Nintendo. That'll be another reason to do another live stream sooner rather than later. Jason?
Yeah, I pretty much said everything that I wanted to say, to be honest.
Okay.
So I don't really know what to add.
Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to having you guys around even more. And join us for the next Frame Perfect series online.
Yeah.
Next event's January 15th through 17th. So if you're interested in joining those, it'll always be on smash.gg/FPS online. Bookmark it, check it out. I do these every month or so.
Mm-hmm.
Tournament series is sick.
Has a lot.
That's
not
what
biased.
The kids,
has a lot of different
not biased.
That's
not
what the
biased
kids
at
are
all.
saying.
Even some games that we haven't even announced yet.
Oh,
Oh,
looking
he's
forward to
teasing.
that.
He's teasing.
Wow, Jason's gotten good at this.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, yes. Why are you tagging
Don't
me?
abuse me, man.
It wasn't me. It was Domo.
Why use Domo as a
I
weapon?
don't know why he's always
Domo,
trying to
why are you
abuse people.
attacking him?
Dude, you attacking me.
Domo, it was Domo.
Mind you, my bicep is like the size of Jason's upper torso.
Oh, yeah?
And
Arm wrestle.
no, no.
Arm wrestle a Domo.
No,
Good job.
The Domo, right. All right, guys. Have a good one. See you guys next time.
All right.
Yes.
Later, guys.
Keep playing Smash. Keep entering Splatoon tournaments. Keep supporting the scene, guys. We're gonna do the same thing too.
Awesome. Absolutely. Mike said.